Pickaxe.
Hello and welcome back to the Review of Death, your fortnightly home for Doctor Who news and reviews. I didn't say that quite right. It should have been the Review of Death, a Doctor Who podcast.
It chops and changes every week.
Does it? I tried to get it quite...
There's a slight variation
Is there?
each
Variation
time.
on the theme. But yeah, this is a Doctor Who podcast, in case you hadn't guessed.
Yeah.
And this is Billy Garrett John.
Hello.
I'm Matthew Toffolo. And we're talking about the Arc of Infinity today.
We are. And I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have an overwhelmingly terrible experience with it.
Yeah.
Which
good.
I wasn't sort of expecting.
Oh, okay,
but,
good.
you know,
Yeah.
it's not brilliant.
Yeah.
But we'll get on to that.
Yeah.
You know, it might surprise you. It might shock you, some of the things we
did
have to say.
consider spending the patron money on a trip to Amsterdam.
Yes.
And filming live at the red light district.
Yeah, but they would have chucked us out because we would have been the weirdos in that scenario.
Yeah.
But we'll,
Going up to some poor prostitute and saying, so now, do you realise that Peter Davison ran around the canals near here with Rice Krispies stuck to his
were
face?
you based around here at any point in 1983, maybe 1982? So yeah, we'll run through some news because obviously quite a bit of stuff has happened since we last recorded. Very sadly, of course, we'll talk about it at the top of the show.
Yeah.
Bernard Cribbins has passed away.
I couldn't believe it. I don't know how I found out. I don't know if it was Johnny who told me, but devastated.
Unbelievable.
Just what a loss.
One of those people that when they're gone, you're like, I didn't consider there would be another side of this where they're not around. You know, they're just so omnipotent in British pop culture.
Yeah.
A bit like Olivia Newton-John yesterday. They're just like, they're always just kind
they're
of there.
always, it's crazy.
But obviously, Wilf in Doctor Who, Tom Campbell in the Peter Cushing movies.
Yeah.
I've got a few highlights. Right Said Fred.
Right, so Fred, of course, yeah.
One of the most brilliant songs ever written. The Carry On movies, in like 3 Carry On movies. The Wombles.
Of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
The Railway Children.
Yeah.
It's just kind of British culture wrapped
There's-
up in one bloke. You know?
It really is.
Faulty Towers.
Oh, God, yes, he's so good in that episode.
And 114 episodes of Jack and Ori. Wow. What a dude.
So has he got the record for the most episodes of Jack and Ori?
I think if he doesn't still have it, at some point he did have the record. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I saw a BBC archive thing of him being interviewed in, I want to say, 1991 on Blue Peter. I think at that point he'd done the most
He
readings.
had the record, yeah. And then even before that, or after that, he did Old Jack's Boat. Was that what it was called? It was the kids' show
does ring
on
a bell.
CBBC.
Yeah.
He was still doing stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously still doing stuff because he was in Bristol weeks ago filming for the 60th anniversary.
Crazy.
And he's not there anymore.
No.
We won't go into that because it's sort of moot. You know, we don't know what his involvement is in it.
No.
But what a legend.
Yeah.
And I think we should probably name Agador Bernard.
Oh, Bernard.
In tribute.
Oh, bless him.
So Bernard the Agador.
Bernard the Agador. That's really sad. I mean, I imagine, because I know a lot of people were talking about Doctor Who, I think it's quite sweet that that's going to be his last on-screen role. And I imagine we can expect that there will be some wonderful tribute at the end. Probably more than just in memory of. Think about what they did with Liz Sladen when they had like a whole bloody programme, I think, didn't they, almost dedicated
Absolutely,
to it? So I imagine they'd probably do like a little thing like that. But it was nice to see different people speaking about him. David and Catherine Tate did a little interview. And so did Sylvia, Donna's mum. I forget the actress's name. But yeah, it was... Yeah, it's just crazy. You know, we just had the films come out in 4K, and then of course he was back in Doctor Who proper.
Yeah.
Just
it's nice. It's nice when stuff comes out, because we've seen it with the collection sets that things get reappraised, and I think a lot of people were sort of saying in the days before he passed away, because the set had just come out, as you said, people going, he's brilliant in that film.
He's so good in that film.
He really holds it.
He's so good.
He holds the comedic element, but he still reacts when he needs to, and you know, he's fantastic.
Didn't you ask me? Didn't you say, who do you prefer, Ian or Tom Campbell? Tom Campbell, because he's funny, but he's more grounded in a way that Roy Castle isn't. And I think that's the wonderful thing about Bernard. He knew exactly how to pitch things. And it was lovely seeing all the stuff from like John Sim posted a lovely thing on Instagram. Did you see that? What he said about after every take, he'd be like, "Oh, you horrible bugger!" That's brilliant.
He's fab. But yeah, gutted. Really sad.
So yeah, rest in peace, Bernard.
R.I.P. Bernard. In a slight, it's difficult to segue into anything else after that, but the Dalek illustrated book is coming out, and that looks quite nice.
It does look quite nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not something that I would probably buy.
When was the last time you bought a Doctor Who book? Go on.
I bought one on...
Not one that was published...
Sunday.
Before 2010.
Oh shit. No. That Ace book?
Oh yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, I've got that too. I think that might have been my last one as well.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Target books. I think I got the Target storybook was the last one.
Okay.
I bought.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was the Ace book for me. I don't think...
Did anybody buy any of the Jodie books? Are they any good? Let us know.
Yeah, they only did about 3, didn't they?
Yeah, 3. You kind of get the impression at that point, it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
That was the first indicator for me, like subconsciously I thought, this isn't normal.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
We'll get on to that in a bit. So yeah, the Dalek illustrated book looks nice.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of thing I might buy it for my nephew.
Yeah.
Because he is, like, we've been talking about his foreign... He watched his first Jodie Whittaker episode the other day.
What did he think?
He watched War of the Sontarans. He really enjoyed it. He thought the Sontarans were good, and he thought she was good.
Good to hear.
Yeah, so he's been enjoying it. He's seen all the Doctors now, like a story from all of the Doctors, except for Hartnell.
Yeah, it's difficult with Hartnell.
Hartnell's
just because of the pacing.
Yeah, because he was like, "Oh, I want to watch the Aztecs," and I was like, "The Aztecs is a great story, but I don't know if it would necessarily grip you."
I think that's the one I'd show.
You think?
Someone either that or The Rescue's only 2 episodes.
I said The Rescue because of the shortness of it,
but there's not a lot to it.
There's not a lot of and
if he's watched the Sea Devils, he can watch the Aztecs.
Yeah,
I think the Sea Devils drags in places more than the Aztecs in some.
Yeah.
respects.
Okay. Yeah. So he hasn't seen a Hartnell, and he's not seen a Tennant, and he's not seen a Matt Smith, and he's not seen a Peter Capaldi.
Okay. Only the good ones then.
Only the good ones, but he loved Christopher Eccleston. Christopher Eccleston was just he loved him. But Pertwee is still his Doctor.
Yeah.
And he watched Brain and Morbius the other day. That went down well.
How did the Kondo gut splatter go down?
Didn't really bother him.
No?
Yeah, Johnny was worried. Jonathan was like, that's their dad, my brother. Jonathan was like, is that going to be too much, too visceral for them? I don't think they're... Violence and like gory stuff like that, I don't think bothers them so much. As,
I don't think it bothers kids at all these days. Like I was in an all-girls private school for 6 months, and some of the just like lurking in the bushes for a TV show, and they watch Squid Games, and they're like 12, 11, 12, and it doesn't faze them in the slightest.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think violence compared to like something more monstrous.
Yeah, because that's the make-believe. That's almost like Tom and Jerry, like, you know, when Tom runs through a Venetian blind and gets split into 1,000 pieces.
Yeah.
It's like, that's so violent that, you know, it's kind of desensitized to you. And I think at that age, you know, I was playing Call of Duty World at War at their age with my cousin, or maybe I was slightly older, and jibs get, you know, blasted off of people in that game. It's sort of like...
I mean, and likewise, like, we were playing, like, Resident Evil and stuff. When
I
was,
yeah.
Like 7.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a different world, but he did watch... So we went on holiday for 4 days.
Yeah.
We went to the Gower, and we took some Doctor Who. That was his main thing. He was like, are we going to watch some Doctor Who while we're on holiday? So we're like, okay, we'll bring some DVDs. So for some reason, the stories that he picked were Silver Nemesis.
Good. Yes. Yeah.
The Three Doctors.
Cool.
And Warriors of the Deep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
Kind of... Yeah.
So we watched Silver Nemesis first, and he was like, that's okay. He enjoyed it.
I love this. Like you're offering them to this, you know, this child prince, and this one was acceptable.
Then we watched
Did you go like that, or like that, if you like something else?
Or like that in the middle. And then Warriors of the Deep, he loved it.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you?
And I was like, and I said to Johnny, and Johnny was like, why does he like this story so much?
It's because
And I said it's monsters, isn't it?
Yeah, it's monsters, and
they don't see the shitness that we see as adults.
No, and it's underwater, and it's
it's like sea bases and stuff,
and it's really well designed, and gunfights. And
Marcello, the youngest, was like, "Oh, I prefer these sea devils. They've got really cool armor."
Yeah.
We were watching it with Uncle Mario, who just pissed himself throughout the whole thing. At the minute the Silurians turned up, which is obviously like 5 minutes into the episode, he just went,
he'd really laugh.
He was just laughing. He was just like, "Oh God, here they are wobbling about."
We should get a Toffolo family audio commentary. Yeah.
So that was that, and then Three Doctors. He just went, that was excellent.
Yeah.
He said that was the best one. Out of the ones we've watched, Three Doctors was the best. Then Warriors of the Deep, he said, and then Silver Nemesis he wasn't quite so keen on.
Oh, never mind.
But
he's dead to me.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Have you seen Chris Marshall's quote in the press?
No.
So obviously Chris Marshall, who is like Schrodinger's doctor.
Yes.
Until he becomes the Doctor, he's just either always the Doctor or never the Doctor.
He's like the present day David Burton, isn't he?
Yeah.
He needs to put the new Doctor Who on his car.
Well, he would if he'd ever seen Doctor Who. Because the quote from the paper that they asked him, you were linked to the Doctor Who role maybe or something. And he said, if I'd been approached to audition for a show at the vanguard of TV for the last 50 years, I'd at least have done my research, but I've never seen an episode of Doctor Who.
Wow.
This is like the meme gets deeper. It's like he's the Doctor. He's so the Doctor. He's definitely the Doctor. Everybody he's auditioned, he's going to get announced. And yet he has never even watched Doctor Who.
Oh, dear. Well, we can't have that.
No.
We know that. If you haven't watched an episode of Doctor Who, you can't be the Doctor.
Yeah, you're
right.
What
people are like
you're
on
right
Twitter.
Unbelievable. And he mentions that he left Death in Paradise the same time Capaldi left Doctor Who, so people put 2 and 2 together and made 5. So there we go. Sadly, we'll never see Chris Marshall as Doctor Who.
Well, you never know. You never know. Just because he said that doesn't mean that someone in the future might not go, you know what?
Don't worry about it, Chris. I'm not. I'm not that fussed. Neil Patrick Harris did an interview that got some attention
with Whoopi Goldberg, wasn't it?
Yes. And he said in that interview, and this is the full quote. Now it's amazing how little he speaks about it.
Yes.
And the length of the articles and the absolutes in which they're talked about in the headlines.
Yeah.
Right. So it's 2 sentences. I got to meet and interact with him a bit, and he's glorious. I mean, we can touch on that, but he'll be the first gay Doctor, which is going to be super cool, a sexier Doctor. That's literally all he said on the matter.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I mean, we'll talk about the fact he's interacted with him.
Yeah.
I guess that means he's in the 60th or involved in the 60th in some way?
Yeah, I think probably so, because there was a leak that suggested that he was going to be in the 60th.
Oh, was there?
And it was a leak so severe that it was this on Gallifrey base that the BBC apparently, or Bad Wolf or whoever, got in contact with Gallifrey base and told them to take it down.
Really?
Because the leak had come from someone within who should not have been leaking stuff.
Or it was on a document so secure that it literally could have only been gained through nefarious means or something.
Yeah.
They were like, that is not public information. I've never heard of them trying to do that before.
I'm sure that's what happened. Maybe I've read that wrong, but I read it and I thought, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, should we talk about the centenary? Or the lack of what we can talk about to do with the centenary?
I got confused then. I was like, wait, what's the centenary? Yeah, that's the Jodie Whittaker one.
That's
I forget that that's coming out.
The one that's in like 2 months or something.
Oh God, it's that soon, isn't it? Shit,
yeah,
it's
I think it's something like 60 plus days until it's supposed to come out.
Wow.
Now, a lot has been made of the fact that we don't know anything.
Yes.
Which I think some of that criticism or comment is totally, don't want to say acceptable, but I get it,
Yeah.
Some of it just seems like people bashing the show, whatever. Yeah. I am perplexed and have been consistently perplexed since we found out there was going to be a centenary and at the end of Legend of the Sea Devils.
Yeah.
That we have no title for it.
Yeah.
I think that's still...
It's really weird.
Bizarre. And I think it might be quite a good indicator of how little communication or how little promotion is actually done, that something which we always get and we always know, further in advance than we'd get screenshots or a synopsis or, whatever, or a listing on the Radio Times or a press release from the BBC Press Office website, we'd at least know the title.
Yeah.
And it's so
That's the
odd.
barest minimum, I think.
It's so odd that we didn't get it at the end of Legend of the Sea Devils. But it's like, if that fell through the cracks, that's how much attention that's being paid to the promotion of the show.
Yeah.
That we haven't had that, and we still don't have that.
I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having this conversation with Jonathan because we were talking about the fact that SFX, did they approach the BBC and say, can we get something?
They tried to do something for the newest issue.
Yeah.
And they weren't granted access in time.
Right.
I think, and they're going to try and get something out for the one after that.
Okay. Oh, so it wasn't like the BBC were like, no.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know who said no.
Yeah.
And I don't know
the
lack of
because I
traction.
I feel like it does feel a bit like the BBC are like, well, we've made this thing and it has to go out and it's going to air, but that's the end of something. We've got this big shiny new thing coming afterwards, and that's what we're really interested in. So, we've just it'll come out kind of like within the 80s, season 26 just aired, and they didn't really put any trailers behind it and anything. No, that's not me saying that they're not going to put trailers out, but I think that they're not necessarily giving as much of a fanfare to it because they probably think, well, this era hasn't been a highlight. It's not like when David Tennant left or when Matt Smith left and it was a big deal. Doesn't feel like a big public big deal.
No.
No. Fans of that period, it's a big deal to them, but en masse, it's just another episode of Doctor Who.
We've spoken about it before, about the way that Doctor Who's been promoted over the last couple of years. And I think it sort of started, with the exception of the 50th anniversary and with Regenerations or the odd special. Yeah. Doctor Who for a while has been promoted and touted within the BBC like a Call the Midwife, like it's on the same level, like it's got the same cultural cachet or relevance as something like Call the Midwife or any other BBC drama like Death in Paradise or whatever. And I think, frankly, that Doctor Who isn't at that level. No. I think Doctor Who, as a phenomenon, is much bigger. Yeah. But has not been put on that pedestal. No. The way that maybe Russell pushed for it to be put on that pedestal. Or when there was a dedicated brand manager. I don't know if there still is, but I'm not sure that it looks like there is, as there had been previously with Edward Russell. Yeah. So as fans, I think we take it personally, and I think we put on that label of the BBC just want to go, it'll come out when it comes out. Yeah. But not a lot of stuff that's going on around the centenary that's going to come out around the same time has also been talked about. Yeah, that's true. And generally, when you look at the lead time,
it's usually like the month before, isn't it?
I think it's that Doctor Who is just like any other show, and the fact that it's being treated as such. But also on top of that, I totally understand and I totally agree that there is an apathy, it seems, from the production team, the incumbent team, towards talking about the show or promoting it in any way. Yeah. Chris Chibnall has himself said it's his least favourite part of the job and that he doesn't enjoy.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? That. Yeah.
And but you don't need to be a showman like a J&T or turning up like Russell would on BBC
on the One Show or anything.
If you don't want to do that, that's cool. But it's like, have somebody who can do that. Yeah. Or let the cast talk about it a bit more. Yeah. Everybody mentions Dan the Plasterer, which doesn't even get brought up. It's like he came up with something in that moment just for the sake of it. Yeah.
He's unemployed, isn't he? When we see him in Flux.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe he literally came up with that on the spot. I've got to give him something. I'm a plasterer. I think there is definitely, I don't want to say something afoot because it sounds sort of nefarious, but there's definitely a hesitance to promote the show from the Chibnall, Chip Chibnall.
Yeah, because I guess the thing is, as of Christmas, because we assume that the first special with David Tennant will air Christmas ish time, whether it's Christmas Day or New Year's Day. And that is going to be the start of a year's worth of celebrations, be it 3 specials that are spread across the year, additional things that we're not even privy to yet, and potentially even, the beginning of Shooty's first season. We don't know. But I guess they're sort of like, well, and everything's going to change. The logo will probably be different, and the music will be different, and everything will look different, and all, and they're probably thinking, well, what's the point in making such a big deal about this?
I don't think, but you think about going from the specials year to Matt Smith.
Yeah.
It was still like, okay, we're coming to the... I get that it was a really big thing. Yeah. And it was a really big event, David Tennant.
People like David Tennant.
People like David Tennant. Well, but yeah, I mean, it felt like a national event.
It did.
I was in Wales over New Year, and there was a telly in this like hotel commune type deal, and everybody was gathered around it watching David Tennant regenerate.
Holy shit.
It was like a room of at least a dozen people.
Wow.
Mainly kids, all sort of sat on the floor.
Yeah.
And David Tennant regenerating, and me trying to hold back
the
tears. And you're like, no one's going to see me cry doing this. Yeah. But, there were people who were pretty upset. But when it came to Matt Smith's era, the next year, months later, it was still sort of bumped.
It was bumped, yeah, that's true.
About.
Yeah, because that came out, I'm trying to think, so the New Year's Day, wasn't it, when David Tennant regenerated? And then I guess it was the spring, wasn't it? So what, April maybe, when Matt Smith came out?
Yeah.
And I guess like for so that's what, 4 months, pretty much. And then, what is it, if it's October, November, December, so it's only a couple of months. Maybe it's that, I don't know. I don't know.
It is
what it is.
It's noticeable because we know it's coming up.
Yeah.
And we don't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily sort of as big a deal as people are making it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Obviously we're going to see a marked increase and a marked improvement, I think, in the way the show is promoted.
Yes, definitely.
And
without a shadow of a doubt.
That will be obvious.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it at the moment. It's just sort of...
I mean, I guess...
conspicuous by its absence.
Yeah, the trouble is, you compare it to all the stuff that's been going on with what should be... Doctor Who should be the equivalent of, like the Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff and all that kind of thing. And you think, well, they had San Diego Comic-Con panels, and where was Doctor Who at San Diego Comic-Con? Well, again, why would they do a San Diego Comic-Con panel for this year? It makes more sense for them to do it next year, or when Shooty is about to come in, and get him at San Diego Comic-Con and say, we're going to show you a teaser from the next special. I mean, they might not even do it for next year. It might be the year after, when Shooty is properly the incumbent Doctor.
Yeah. I don't think that having a panel at San Diego really means anything anymore.
See, I kind of think
it's nice to have a presence there.
Yeah.
But if you're using that as a
mecca.
measuring stick of how popular the show is, or like, I know it's a nerd mecca, but unless they are going to screen something exclusive, and even then people will get pissed off that they weren't in the room for it. Do you remember when there was a trailer shown?
Yeah.
And was it the 50th trailer or something?
I think it might have been, or something like that.
It was something like that. And people were really pissed off that they didn't see it.
Yeah.
Because obviously of the time difference in the States. I don't know if they do something like that. But a panel maybe. But I don't think Doctor Who needs to turn up at Comic-Con every year. No. Why not turn up at do it at the London one? Why does it have to be why does it have to be San Diego?
Because it's the big one. It's the big one.
Yeah.
It's so huge.
I know.
People stay up to like God knows what o'clock to follow the coverage.
Do they?
Things. Yeah.
I haven't seen that side of it. So.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, people stay up till midnight to wait for things to go on the BBC Twitter that never turn up. So fair enough.
Thanks, TV Zone.
Let's talk about something else incredibly controversial, Matt.
What's that then?
So apparently some action figures have been announced.
Oh boy.
So what have we got? What have we got coming out?
So we've got 4 new sets coming to B&M whenever B&M decide to release them.
Okay.
And I think that was actually mentioned in the press release.
Yeah.
It was sort of said, they will be out when
we can be bothered.
When B&M can be asked to put them on the shelves. But I imagine it'll be fairly soon because that's why they've given the press release out. But this is 4 new sets. The 8th Doctor set, which is 3 8th Doctors.
Waste money.
The David Tennant set, which is 3 10th Doctors of varying outfits.
Quality. Outfits,
and the 2 History of the Dalek sets, which is the second Planet of the Dalek set, which people will be very pleased to hear about because they were annoyed that last year we didn't get the Supreme Dalek. So we've got a nice Supreme Dalek, we've got an Invisible Dalek, which is great. That's
great.
really cool, that Invisible Dalek. And then the second set is Death of the Daleks, which are stunning Daleks anyway. And the 8th Doctor set, that's pretty good. The TV movie Paul McGann is a really nice repaint. The Dark Eyes one is cool. He's got his little handbag. And then the Night of the Doctor one, that's another nice repaint. That's a good one because that was so hard to get singular release.
I do like it when they do that.
Yeah.
And I think, the only times the Supreme Daleks come out was the original box set and then the SFX.
It never came out as an SFX one. It was talked about, but it never.
Okay.
It never ended.
So that's
up
the only time it's ever come out.
This is the first time since 2008.
And you get a whole other Dalek.
And you get a whole other Dalek, so that's really good. And the same really with the Death of the Dalek set. Unless you had like the one with the orange dome lights, that was a Forbidden Planet exclusive.
I got that.
Did you get that one?
That came with a
John Pertwee.
John,
and then the other one was like a sound effects one. But again, they were hard to get. They weren't easy to get hold of. So this is good. The 10th Doctor stuff, I mean, I'm sure people have said their piece on Twitter by now anyway.
Because it's the 10th Doctor from the wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, isn't it?
Yes, of all stories. He hasn't got his pinstripes.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it?
It is a bit weird, but you'll hear all about this in my reviews, which will be coming out. Actually, some of them might be out by the time you hear this.
He's had them for ages.
I literally got them the weekend of San Diego Comic Con. Which is the 22nd of June. July? July. I should know. It was the weekend Dad died, so I should know when it was.
Damn. Because you spoke to me about the 10th Doctor one ahead of time.
I did.
And sort of said people might be a bit...
Yeah.
What's the reaction been from what you've seen? Is it kind of what you expected, or...?
It is, really. I think people were just kind of like, And I was a bit surprised, to be honest. I thought that it wouldn't just be 3 variations of the same character. I thought it would be, the Doctor and a monster or something. So I was surprised. And obviously we've got like this comic book version. He's like on the cover of one of Will Brooks's Titan comics.
Which was that?
The raggedy one.
I was wondering where that was.
Because when I got my samples, I was like, oh, who the fuck are you? Like, what story are you from? And then I read the back of the box. It was like from the Comic Adventures.
Why not do a 60th anniversary one before it even comes out? You could.
Well, I guess by the time that these went into production, all that stuff wasn't known about. But yeah, it's. I think it's just there's been big budget cuts for this year. And I imagine that because last year we had a lot of masses of new tooling and stuff.
Think that's by comparison.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem.
That might be what people are kind of...
Yeah, I guess people, you do 1 year of like amazing, lots of new things, and then people just sort of expect that all the time, which obviously isn't the reality of it.
Yeah.
But I imagine that, maybe this is like some sort of a buffer year, and perhaps next year we might start getting to see a few more bits of new tooling and stuff. So.
Well, it would make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But there we go.
But we might be speaking to someone soon who...
Yeah, fingers crossed we'll be getting Al on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking to him about all things Doctor Who.
So we'll put a thing out if anybody wants to ask Al any questions about Doctor Who action figures and the toy line in general, then we can get the skinny on it from him. Yeah. It should be really interesting. Well, that's just about it in terms of Doctor Who news.
Yeah.
Just about everything covered.
There's one other thing.
Go on.
Season 20, the collection set. That's coming out next year.
Okay.
You've looked at me like I've said something terrible.
Are people supposed to know that?
Did you not see all this on Twitter?
No.
Okay. So,
there's been a leak.
There's been a leak. Sorry, Chris. There's been a leak that there was filming in Amsterdam for
Yeah.
the story we're talking about after the break. They were filming in Amsterdam, doing some sort of a special feature. I didn't read the whole thing, but I think they wanted like fans from Holland and over there to
weigh in on it
and come in and do some stuff. And of course, because people can't keep their gobs shut, they were like, "Oh, we did this thing and it's coming out next year."
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you do that? Why would you post it on Reddit and then share it on Twitter and all this kind of stuff? And then why would some asshole on a podcast then announce it to all the people who didn't know, like his co-host who didn't have a clue?
Well, you know.
So, but it makes sense because season 20 is the big anniversary season, and it's the big anniversary year next year.
I mean, it feels like season 20 is the box set that's the next one. That's the next one for ages.
Well, I got a funny feeling that this Amsterdam stuff was supposed to be shot.
Yeah, over
COVID, wasn't it? Like March, and then obviously COVID happened. I guess people's schedules and stuff haven't allowed for that to happen. But it makes sense to release it next year rather than before that because, you've got the 5 Doctors and,
a nice thick re-edit of the 5 Doctors.
Oh, the 5 Doctors. And all the film sequences, I think, exist in HD.
Yeah.
Or the negatives exist
that's going to
be transferred to HD.
Really nice.
So that would be really cool.
Yeah. Ever wanted to see a Cyberman beheaded in HD?
Yeah.
You're going to get your opportunity
to. Be vomited.
I've got a great story that I can tell you that I got told firsthand by Stuart Fell.
Oh, yeah.
When one of the Cybermen gets their arms lopped off by the Rastal Moria robot.
Yeah.
And there was a chemical smoke that was added to his injury, to his stump, his cyber stump. And the chemical smoke got into his mask.
Ooh.
And he was acting. I'm a dying Cyberman, and I'm literally also dying.
So that sick wasn't...
that wasn't cyber. I should have asked him about the cyber milk.
Yeah.
It's such a bizarre... It's odd when you see it, innit? Every time it happens, I'm like, why did this never happen again? Because it kind of looks cool.
It does look cool.
But also the noise they make as well. They sound like pigs.
I always thought it sounded like... Because there's a cyber leader who does the vomiting.
Yes.
And when it happens, before he's sick, he makes a noise, and it sounds like he's saying mummy.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always thought it. So I like to think that in his dying moments, some of that humanity came back.
I just saw a
cyber
controller in an apron rocking a tiny cyber leader.
I know. The little one. Maybe that was it. Maybe the cyber controller was just pregnant in Attack of the Cybermen.
That's how they're born, everybody.
Yeah.
Forget the cyber conversion thing. Just where does it come out of? His head? It crowns. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's another Cyberman crowning out of his...
It's an egg.
It's an egg. It's an egg in the head.
He's got one brewing inside and then he just goes...
Oh, poor Michael Kilgareth.
Oh.
Bless him. If you notice in that episode of Tackle Cyberman, there's a massive cut in it.
Right.
Where Matt...
Yes!
deleted some stuff from the Michael Kilgareth segment. But yeah, and obviously the cyber heads for the costumes at the time are 4 bolts.
Yeah.
And there wasn't even enough time to unscrew the bolts. So some floor manager or something literally ripped the helmet off of his head. And he was like kind of...
Jesus Christ. Now, I put on my Cyber Leader helmet for the first time the other day.
Yeah.
And... how he would have ripped that off.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I've just got a big head.
I mean, he's smaller anyway, but I mean, my God.
That's
and
tight.
The way you have to put them on is you have to turn your head sideways first. Is this how you put yours on? Maybe David Banks' head is bigger than yours.
Well, his head probably is bigger than mine, but I mean, I just put it on and then got Johnny to screw it in afterwards.
No, so he said you have to put it on
sideways
maybe,
I'll have to try that. I'll have a go.
Like that, and his nose is like that the entire time. Oh my God!
I wasn't that bad.
I don't want to be a Cyberman anymore.
No, is that completely just
destroyed it? He told me enough horror stories about
I did think that, I put it on, and we didn't even screw it in properly. Yeah. And I thought, imagine being stuck in this.
And knowing that it's going to take a while for someone. Yeah.
Or you just go mad.
And sweating into your boots and having to put a hairdryer into them, he said, at the end of every recording.
Oh, really?
Just blast your shoes and socks with a hairdryer. Wow. Why do people put themselves through it? For our entertainment. Yeah, it was bloody worth it, I'll tell you that.
It's really good. Yeah. So That's season 20. On which note, we're going to go into season 20
Let's talk about the first episode of season 20.
Hello, welcome back. We're talking about the Arc of Infinity today. I don't know why I put my notes away. I need them.
How did you feel about this going into it? What was your last impression of watching the Arc of Infinity?
I honestly have never found any issue with the Arc of Infinity.
No.
I've always thought it's fine.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you posted that poll, I thought to myself, God, I hope the Arc of Infinity wins. And I actually almost tweeted about it. And I thought, if I tweet about it, you bastards at home will be like, oh no, we'll rig it so that he's got to watch the Horns of Nimon.
Yeah, the other ones were the Curse of the Black Spot and the Horns of Nimon.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm very grateful that I didn't have to subject myself to either of those stories.
Because I kind of got the impression when people saw that we were going to do it, that it's really not liked, that it's
this is what I don't understand.
It's like D-tier Doctor Who.
Yeah, people really shit on this one, and I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it's got an element of 80s Doctor Who that we always criticise it for.
Yeah.
Like Gallifrey, for instance, feels very 80s. It is, you cannot compare it to the sumptuous designs of Roger Murray Leach and The Deadly Assassin.
No. It's got the same problem that The Invasion of Time has, which is very long corridors and nothing kind of happening in them.
Yeah,
like at least...
here's a lamp, here's a sofa.
Yeah.
It's like a bloody waiting room.
It looks like an 80s like insurance office, like the brown marble feature walls and stuff. But it's... At least in The Deadly Assassin, it's populated.
Yes.
Like there's comings and goings. There's a couple of scenes where like Nissa's sat down with Damon and...
in like a Time Lord cafe.
Yeah, and there's somebody having lunch behind them or something. And it's odd.
It did make me laugh. All of their caps, none of them fit any of the actors. They're all like a bit misshapen.
Bruce's one is sort of like hovering above his head.
The Castellans does not fit him at all. And I think they sort that out by the time of the Five Doctors.
How do you feel generally about going back to Gallifrey? Because so much of it is set on Gallifrey, and I know that people generally aren't a fan of going to Gallifrey.
I don't mind.
No.
I think it's always quite nice to go back to Gallifrey and gleam a little bit more about the Doctor's origins. Do we gleam an awful lot from this story?
No, it's sort of the Gallifrey of the 70s, and it doesn't really...
Because it's not like he
feel particularly grandiose. And
like at least with the Deadly Assassin, you get Runcible the Fatuous, who is like, okay, that was someone that he was at school with, and you get a bit of like, wasn't there some sort of scandal or something?
Yeah.
And so you get like, that's something.
And even in the settings, like the Panopticon, there isn't like a grand...
Yeah, there's no Panopticon in this story.
Or whatever,
It's like a shit boardroom with a couple of chairs at the back.
It is, and they just sort of lined up against this wall and having very dour meetings. Like, there's no fanfare when anybody walks into a room. There's no sort of impression that this is a higher level of society or whatever. It
just feels like old fussy gits.
Yeah.
It's quite funny because growing up, this was a story that I didn't see for quite a while, and we had a book, the Key to Time book. Do you remember that one? Peter Haining, I think it was. And that went up to... It categorised every month of Doctor Who from 1963 to 1983, I guess, just as Colin was about to come in. And there was a picture of Peter with the Time Lords in the Arc of Infinity. And I always thought, oh, wow, that's really cool. There's another Time Lord story. And then, you watch it now and you think,
it's a backdrop to the story. It's a backdrop to what's going on.
Yeah, and like Damon, this annoys me. Yeah. Because every time I watch this story, I don't know how many times I've seen this bloody episode, Damon turns up and I think, are we supposed to know this guy?
Yeah,
Has he been in another story?
It's always meek technicians who are easy fodder for people to get, killed and murdered. Dour sort of politician types and grunting guards. Yeah. But I think because Damon looks like everybody else on Gallifrey that we've ever met. Yeah. White, 6 foot something, meek. Yeah. Yes, Lord President. It kind of feels like we've met him a million times.
That's it. Yeah. And it annoys me when the Doctor's like, oh, he's a friend of mine. We've never met him before.
No. I think he says it in that way of, I've just encountered this person. They're a friend of mine. That's
but I guess there must be some sort of history, because why would Damon give such a shit about some renegade arsehole like the Doctor?
Yeah, I mean, maybe...
Maybe they're like friends in the most loosest possible sense. Like, we went to a party. We went to
the same hermit halfway up a mountain.
Yeah,
we know each other through the hermit.
We were all snorting whatever they snort on Gallifrey. The Rani was over there. The Master was doing whatever he was doing. The Red Limb Monk was trying to win the lottery back in whatever time. He was trying to cook the books or whatever. And then, Damon was just there like, oh, all right.
Hello, Doctor.
Yeah.
Notice me.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Christ, not him again.
I like Gallifrey because it feels like it kind of grounds the Doctor again.
Yeah.
Whenever the Doctor gets a bit too big for their own boots, it's like, you are part of like a civilization.
Yeah.
And it kind of... I like the Doctor being sort of put back in their place and sort of, you're a naughty Time Lord and gets the hand slapped and told off, and like, well, you've got to be answerable in some way.
Yeah.
You can't just be an omnipotent godlike figure, Stephen. So it's nice that we go back to Gallifrey every now and again and sort of it almost resets the Doctor a little bit.
And it feels like he can't really. This isn't something that he can really win. Because it's just like, no, the odds are against you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could probably do that in a much better way than how it is executed in this story.
The all the ideas and all of the set pieces and a lot of the plotting, I think, is actually quite good in this story. It's fine. Johnny Byrne is not a bad Doctor Who writer.
No.
A safe pair of hands, not the most dynamic scripts in the world, but you get a solid beginning, middle and end and a couple of nice moments in there. Because there's a couple of nice bits of dialogue in Warriors of the Deep.
Yes.
Sorry, I try to forget that episode as much as I can. And in this,
I've had to watch it twice in 1 year. Within months.
How have you done it?
I know.
There's a nice bit of dialogue in this as well, I thought, when Head-In, because it's quite obviously Head-In from the beginning, speaks to Omega and says, it was something about we owe you.
Yeah.
And it's
what we are.
We owe to you.
We owe to you. Yeah.
And it's like, that's a great bit of dialogue. And the maniacal side of it doesn't quite like. It would have been cooler to see this almost like religious. Yeah. Like, well, he is our creator. We would be nothing without him. And there is a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But should we talk about Omega?
Let's talk about Omega. I mean, he's a lot more grounded in this story than he is perhaps in the Three Doctors, because in the Three Doctors he's very shouty. I think Stephen Thorne is fantastic in the Three Doctors. He's fantastic.
And Ian Collier is great in this, but I don't think there's a patch on Stephen Thorne's. They're doing something different.
They're doing something very different. Have you heard Omega, the audio?
No, but he plays Omega in that.
That is fantastic. And it adds... It kind of adds a bit more to this, and it adds a lot more to Omega's character. I highly recommend it. It's really good. And there's a fantastic cliffhanger in it, which I won't spoil, but the first time I heard it, I was like, holy shit, what a cliffhanger. It's really good.
All right.
So it's worth a listen to, and it really gets into the history of like who Omega was, or perhaps who he was back when he was on Gallifrey, and the lead up to the accident that caused him to be trapped in a black hole. But in this, I think he's an interesting character. He's a great tragic character, and I think that's when baddies work well. Is when there's that slight tinge of tragedy to them,
and they can't see that.
And they just can't handle it. Shara's Jack is the same. He's actually like a great guy, but his face got fucked, and he ended up living in the caves with androids, and his mind sucked.
And the Master's kind of the same. The Master is always trying either too hard or not enough, and that's kind of what makes them evil. But there is that kind of layer of, I wish I could be normal.
I think you get that in the Three Doctors, don't you? The tragedy of and it's horrible because the Doctor sees him as a hero. Never meet your heroes, kids, because they might turn out to be lunatics like Omega. And then, of course, that terrible reveal when he's like, you don't even exist anymore. You're just willing yourself into being. And then we've got the redesign in this. What do you think of that?
I like the lights moving when he talks. But you can only really see it when he's negative.
It really shows up then.
And it looks really good.
Yeah.
I was because I forgot that he takes his head off and Peter Davison's underneath it at the end.
Yeah.
I forgot how that worked. But I was watching it thinking, well, the last time we saw Omega, they didn't have a head.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this supposed to be armor? Or is
this
their actual
the
being?
Thing I was going to ask you. Is like,
because the way that he leaks all that goo, it's like, well, that looks like blood. You know? So I guess he kind of, that is his being.
Yeah, is he like, because I guess like the Ergon or the Gel Guards are, you know, antimatter creations. So yeah, is his head just some sort of massive whatever the hell that is that he's just conjured up in his like leather gimp gear?
Yeah, I think his outfit looks dope. It looks really cool.
It's good, and it still survives. You can see it in Liverpool.
You can. The Ergon.
Yeah, the Ergon. Not one of Doctor Who's greatest monsters.
Technically, I think looks really cool.
He looks amazing.
Yeah,
it's a great design.
Outfit is great, but that head.
Yeah.
Give him literally any other head. It's the chicken head just kills it. And it doesn't, you know, I think, is it Roger Lim who did the music for this?
I hate the score.
Yeah. And when the Ergon comes out to that, it's like, you're setting this thing up to fail, lads. Like, this is not, how did anybody looking at that and going, it's really scary. But then again,
especially when Peter has that scuffle with it.
I know, and it's like, it doesn't work, but technically is actually quite cool.
It's a great bit of design. You know, it's like something you'd expect to see in something like Castlevania, like a that kind of like a demonic sort of monster. But it's just unfortunately the costume just doesn't work on a practical level. Had it perhaps been shot in low lighting and in a different way, maybe they could have reinforced the head so it didn't friggin'
wobble around when you moved. And you can see the pinholes in the neck.
You can see, you're like,
why does Omega need Colin to do all of his bidding? Colin being Tegan's cousin, when he's got the Ergon there?
I don't know.
Maybe he likes having a young lad around. Just to do all the housework. It's
really interesting. Like I've always thought this, and it's kind of been. I guess this is a reading that many other people have had because Jay from We Are Cult shared an article with us the other day. Because they'd written a thing about this story. Colin and his friend Robin. Is it Colin and Robin?
Yeah.
Are they gay?
I don't know.
I've always got the impression that they're gay because there's a gay reading to it, I'm sure.
I get the impression that Colin doesn't really like Robin. Because they don't seem like the kind of people that would hang out with you. Robin's very kind of like stern and takes things really like seriously and, you know, only has that one expression on his face. And Colin just seems like pretty free and easy and carefree. But then again, he is kind of against sleeping in the crypt. So he is a bit of a square man. I do like their whole setup though. I like the shooting it in Amsterdam and making it about two students going backpacking and finding accommodation that they don't have to pay for but they might get arrested for. It feels really real. And it adds a layer that doesn't need to be there. But then, you know, it's a helpful link when you have to go and find information from the hostel they never checked into. It just kind of it gives it a basis in reality.
And I think that's what's quite fun about this story is you see all those disparaging elements of like, right, so we've got this weird creature, we've got stuff going on Gallifrey, then stuff with the Doctor and the TARDIS, and, you know, Omega, which obviously we don't know it's Omega until part 3, unless you're not an idiot and you worked it out ages ago. But, and then you sort of watch it and you think, and then you got this stuff in Amsterdam, like, how do all these disparaging elements seemingly fit together?
They kind of work, though.
Yeah.
I think that's because Doctor Who is the only show that can get away with having all of those elements in separate places, and yet it's still all being part of the same story and the same whole.
I think if you tried to do this for any other drama, a script editor would just be like, what on earth are you talking about?
Why are we all over the place with all this sort of stuff? A couple of Omega moments. What do we think of the whole music box bit with the little kids?
That's really cool. That's a sweet moment. I like that.
I kind of watched it initially and I thought, I don't quite get what they're going for until you're like, because I get that he's desperate for a physical form in this universe, but I think if you'd had a performer like Stephen Thorne, that maniacal, desperate, I will do anything to be out
Yeah.
of this universe,
Yeah.
this universe of antimatter, would sell it more. But I think you can miss that reading that he's like, maybe I'm a good person, and maybe he's enjoying the sensory aspects of being alive. It would have been nice to have a few more. Maybe he goes down the red light district. It's like, well, now I'm here and I'm in person.
That was the real reason Omega chose Amsterdam.
That's why his skin started flaking off. He caught something.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
It's a nice little scene.
It is a nice scene.
What do we think about Peter Davison suddenly not being Omega and Ian Collier running around?
Yeah, it's so obvious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, they've given him the same haircut, but the colour just doesn't quite match.
It looks like Wurzel Gummage's hair. It's like straw.
Yeah, bless him. And they just cover him in Rice Krispies and paint him green, don't they?
It's not like there's enough prosthetic to make it look obviously like...
Yeah.
The prosthetic is the actor's face or, whatever. Like...
Yeah.
It's not like a go-between like The Watcher or whatever. It's clearly a different actor with a different frame and a different build.
Yeah, perhaps if they'd have done something more to disguise the fact that it was him, distorted his face more. A bit like more Magnus Greel, sort of like his face was like melting a bit. You could have probably gotten away with it, but definitely. I guess time constraints, especially doing it on location, I guess didn't allow for that.
There's a lot of collusion on Gallifrey.
Yeah.
We have a villain on Gallifrey, Hedin, who... I don't know if it's because we're watching it. I mean, I watched it on BritBox, so it's the DVD transfer. It's not HD. It's good picture quality. But you can see the colour of his collar the whole way through. It's clearly the purple one. Yeah. And
you just hear his voice. I mean, I know they've manipulated it.
A little bit, but it's like in this diction and his sibilance of certain words. It's like, that's clearly Hedin.
Yeah. Michael Gough has a very particular way of speaking.
Very much so. But, it's sort of like they so desperately want people at home to telegraph it's the Castellan.
Yeah.
Because it's always the Castellan that has the last conversation with Maxil and wanders off. Then you get a scene with Maxil doing his thing. Yeah. And then the next scene is always Hedin talking to Omega. Yeah. So they're obviously trying to steer it in a particular direction. But, I mean... Was it Michael Gough? His hand acting is off the charts.
Yeah, man. Twiddling that thing. Yeah. That's really cool. That's good. I like that.
But there's a bit right at the end where you kind of feel like he's running out of things that, like, I've done this sort of thing with it already. So then he just starts doing this and talking with his hands like that. And it's like, okay, all right. But he's great.
He's very good. He's very good in it.
He's very, he's got an apathy to him. I can trust you. You're a kind of cuddly old dude. Yeah. And then... He's obviously a bad one. Yeah.
It's a shame that when Barusa turns around to him, he's like, "Why are you doing this?" There's no time to explain that now. Yeah. And it's never explained. It's like, and then it goes back to this thing that you were saying, like, it's a shame that there's not more of like a, is there some sort of almost like a religious zealot type of thing?
Yeah, like the cult of Omega. Like we all rejected him. Yeah, he gave us this power of time travel. Yeah. And it's alluded to, and there's a couple of lines. But, it's not like there's enough.
Actually, kind of almost wrote a comic book that had that in. Yeah, it didn't happen, unfortunately.
Was that for the same one that you did the Cyberman?
It was the same one that we did the Cyberman one, and it was going to be a whole thing with Cult of Omega.
That would have been cool.
Uprising against Rassilon.
Cool. Maybe he can do it with some action figures, folks. He's quite good at that, apparently.
Yeah, that'd be good.
What should we move on to next? Should we talk a bit more about the story or the Doctor? Or
I want to go back to Robin.
Okay.
Because is he the third member of Mulligan and O'Hare?
Why?
Because he sort of talks like this.
He's got a bit of a thing.
Like, oh dear.
I don't like the bit where
at least take your boots off. See, there's stuff like that. You're not going to sleep like that, are you? At least take your boots off. This is where the gay reading comes from.
Tegan's back. It's a nice hook to do the kind of she's been away for a bit and then come back. She's kind of shaken off the fact that your companion gimmick is that you're an air hostess. Yeah. And she's just kind of a person. Yeah. That's quite nice.
Yeah, it's good. And, it gives us... Is she the companion of classic Doctor Who that we see more of her family than any other Doctor Who companion at that time?
At that time?
Because it's Auntie Vanessa and her cousin Colin. Mm-hmm. All the other... I guess we hear about Auntie Lavinia Smith, Sarah Jane. We know about Joe Grant's uncle.
Who got her in.
Obviously, Ace, we know about her mum and... we meet her grandmother.
There aren't, many others.
I don't think anyone else.
No.
The Brigadier's wife.
Yeah, true.
and
daughter.
but we don't know about the daughter in classic Doctor Who.
Unless you count downtime.
No.
Yeah,
it's a good in.
Yeah, it's a good hook for the start of the season.
And I like the stuff with Nyssa and the Doctor at the start. Because
Do you?
Yeah, well, because you do get the feeling that they've been travelling just the two of them for a while.
And they've spent all their time just fixing the TARDIS.
Oh no, they've been doing good things. Like they were in a much better story called Spare Parts.
They were, in between. I maybe it's just this thing I've just got. I don't like the Fifth Doctor, or not dislike the Fifth Doctor, but he's my least favourite. That Nyssa would rather spend her time on board the TARDIS, sort of fixing it and doing chores. She doesn't have a spirit of adventure to her, you know. She's just a bit beige.
Yeah.
You know, like, she doesn't have that get up and go. At least Tegan's got some piss and vinegar, you know, like...
See, now, I agree, but I do think she's really good in this story.
In this story...
Later on.
And Sarah Sutton is fantastic in all her Doctor Who's.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is the first story she actually does anything, really. And, you know, she's given a lot of action.
Yeah.
Obviously, Josh Nares is very happy with the gun.
Yeah.
Popping up every, 15 seconds, she's wielding another gun at somebody and shooting someone.
Yeah, she's a bloody
ruthless.
trigger happy, isn't she? She shoots that soldier.
She does.
First thing she does, I'm going to go for that gun.
Bang.
Like, come on, Nyssa.
But yeah, she is given a bit more agency in this story. It's, but then again, immediately Tegan comes back into the fray, and it's like, well, it would be nice to have got a television adventure with just the Fifth Doctor and Nyssa.
Just the two of them. And again, I mean, like, this is the trouble. I mean, you can with old Doctor Who, is that obviously there's not enough time to explore all these elements of the characters and all this kind of stuff. But we can put things upon them after the fact. But I mean, for Nyssa, you've got to think, everyone that she's ever known is bloody dead. Adric's just died as well. Tegan's buggered off. If the Doctor dies...
Maybe she was trying to off them, so she just got the Fifth Doctor all to herself.
Maybe. So, I like her motivation, but it's not... None of this stuff is sort of said, but I think you've got to infer it afterwards.
It's helpful, I think, for this period of Doctor Who, and for many other periods of Doctor Who, that we have Big Finish.
Yeah.
To sort of put some more meat on the bones.
Yes.
But because I don't interact with a lot of that stuff generally... I mean, I've listened to Spare Parts, I've listened to lots of audio dramas where it's just the Fifth Doctor and Nyssa. I still just watch it as it is, and I don't get an awful lot from it. I don't get an awful lot from them.
Yeah.
I enjoy her in the story. It does feel like it feels like a season finale.
Yeah.
This would have been much better than Time Flight. Well, I mean, obviously. But it has like a season finale feel. We're on Gallifrey.
Yeah.
You know, the Doctor is sentenced to death twice, killed once, stasered once.
Yeah.
And I mean, those cliffhangers don't really do anything for me. Whenever the Doctor's shot in parts 1 and 2, it's like, oh no, what's going to happen for the next 24 weeks or whatever it is? Like, the Doctor's not in it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those are always a bit of a cop-out. I guess the one where he's atomized.
Yeah.
That's quite a good one, because he is gone. You know, Nyssa's crying. She's got tears rolling down her face.
Yeah.
You know, proper emotion going on there.
Really?
For old Doctor Who. The cliffhangers aren't great.
You get the
episode 3 is
Omega has control of the Matrix.
Yeah, which means absolutely nothing to anyone.
Omega floating across the screen like a Windows screensaver.
It really is.
That Matrix, that whole Matrix section. I think this is the other thing with the Fifth Doctor in this story, is fixing the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Running around Gallifrey.
Yeah.
Getting stasered, getting locked in Nyssa's bedroom and getting one last lungful of drawers before he gets offed. And then putting the Matrix for half of part 3 and a bit of part 4.
Yeah.
And then chasing himself around Amsterdam. It's like there's action, but there's not an awful lot of stuff to it. You know, like most of the Fifth Doctor's lines are like, there's no time. We've got to run over here now, and that's sort of it.
No, I know what you mean.
Which is fine because it keeps the story going. But what's he doing? What's he saying? There's not an awful lot there.
Yeah, and you almost wish that there was a bit more between him and Omega.
Yeah.
With the realisation that
he is
Omega. You know, because John's got those fantastic, great scenes with him where he talks about him. You know, you're my boyhood hero and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's sort of all glossed over.
I think one of the problems is that it feels very padded, this story.
Yeah.
And I think one of the issues with that, and one of the consequences of that, is that you get a lot of Time Lords referring to Omega as the creature.
Yeah.
When it's been established in part 1 that this is a creature from the universe of antimatter.
Antimatter.
And none of them go, he sounds anybody else?
Yeah.
It's a bit fishy.
Yeah.
Sound a bit like Omega.
I said this to Johnny. I was like, well, surely everyone would know because of that. It's like, it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be either the antimatter monster from Zeta Minor from Planet of Evil. Doubt is him.
No.
Or Omega.
Exactly.
Who else is going to have beef with the Time Lords?
Exactly. And be manipulating things from behind the scenes.
He's like, come on, you
And I think the other thing as well is that, and maybe this plays into maybe it's a commentary on bureaucracy, because we seem to just go round and round in circles with the Time Lords.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's biodata and stuff.
Yeah.
So the Doctor's biodata is extracted from the Matrix.
Yeah.
That is established. That is made very clear from part 1. And the Time Lords go, well, it couldn't possibly be us, because none of us would be so evil to do that. It's like, okay, but the logical conclusion is that one of you has done it.
Yeah.
And you're all aware that it was the Doctor's biodata and it was taken.
Yeah.
Right, okay, great.
Yeah, it can only be members of the High Council.
Exactly. Then Damon takes the Doctor's biodata, rolls it up and gives it to him.
Yeah.
And sneaks it on board the TARDIS. The Doctor opens it and goes, my biodata. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And then there's a bit where the Castellan goes to, it must be in part 3. So we're even in part 3 now, and we're still doing this bloody game. He says to Maxil, go and check the Doctor's biodata. He goes in and he goes, it definitely came from Gallifrey. Well, no shit. Like, obviously, like, unless they're, and I don't think it's trying to do this, unless it's doing like a whole, well, we need evidence to prove it beyond all reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
But you've all proved beyond all reasonable doubt that it was one of you.
Yeah.
You just don't want to admit to it, and the Doctor's the scapegoat.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting kind of concept,
yeah.
but it doesn't get sold like that, and it doesn't come across in that way. You know?
No.
And so you feel like we're just same corridors, up and down, locked in that room, locked in this room, taken to the chamber, taken to another bloody chamber. It's just, you know, that is where this story, I think, it gets its reputation for being boring.
Yeah.
Because it's lots of walking up and down empty corridors.
Yes.
You know, and passing notes and collusion and whispering and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I get that isn't everybody's cup of tea, but I like the idea that Gallifrey is steeped in,
Yeah.
you know,
everyone's a shithead.
yeah, the corridors of power.
Yeah.
Like, the decisions are not made in that room. They're made in the corridors outside that room, being whispered to and passing notes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I like that. But, I mean, there's nobody in those corridors to pass notes to. It's bloody deserted.
No, they're all in that bar.
They're all at the piss.
It's like the BBC bar. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's a commentary on the
BBC. Yeah. Yes, Doctor Who's very popular and it gets the viewing figures, but we're going to cancel it anyway because they spend the money elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Of course. The big one that we haven't talked about. Colin Baker.
Colin Baker is Maxil, but he isn't. He's the Sixth Doctor, and I can't watch this story without going, it's just the Sixth Doctor, it's just the Sixth Doctor.
Really?
I can't disassociate.
Yeah, it's
but
hard,
he's great in it.
He's very good.
And you can see how good an actor he is, because it's like, that is certainly not what he does with the Sixth Doctor.
Yes.
But I can't.
He feels a bit wasted, really.
Yeah.
It feels like
he's one of the best actors in
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's Colin always gives that anecdote about, it was the Commander Maxwell show. You know, that's what he was told to, tone it down a bit.
Yeah.
I really want to see that version where he was like, he really felt like he was the star of the show.
I feel like he would have taken one look at that outfit and gone, all right, that's a bit too busy. Maybe I need to calm myself down. Otherwise, I am literally just going to be the only thing visible in this shot. Yeah. In this two shot. It's just going to be people staring at me and this chicken head that I've got. I like, there's a couple of bits I want to talk about with Amsterdam. Yeah. There's a really nice bit, and you're like, oh, this is the era with no sonic screwdriver. Yeah. So the Doctor's got that device that measures the Omega's transference. Yeah. And Nyssa says something like, well, can it lead us to him? And the Doctor goes, it's not as simple as that. And it's like, yes! Yeah. They have to try and figure out a way to get to Omega. Yeah. There's no GPS. He doesn't wave a sonic around and go, over there somewhere. Yeah. And they have to look through a telephone directory and go to a hostel and ask questions. And there's another bit which I feel like it's probably not a reference, but I feel like they're kind of in the same ballpark, where he empties his pockets out. Yeah. And he hasn't got any change. He's got his hat, a cricket ball, some string, and like a bolt or something. And it's like, well, no, that's, adds a lot more weight to the story and a lot more intrigue. Because you're like, but he hasn't got this thing that can just fix all these problems.
Yeah, even when they get first transported to Gallifrey and they're in the security centre or whatever they call it, and he's trying to open the door, he's there fiddling around with it, and then the door's open, but that's because Damon's done it. And even he says, oh, no, this isn't me, someone else.
That bit falls pretty flat, I think.
Yeah?
That bit where he's going, code.
Oh, yeah, that bit.
It's like, oh my God, can you just get on with it? And then he opens the door and he goes, it was just luck. And it's like, what's the gag?
Yeah, but now we've got that gif of when he does that with the rainbow, and it's like, no fucks given.
Oh,
or
true.
It is. So,
fair enough.
It was worth it.
It was worth it for a gif, yeah.
And it's interesting, in hindsight, this story, they Hedin tries to pin it on Barusa. It's like, Barusa's the traitor.
Yeah.
A few stories later, Barusa is the traitor.
Yeah.
I like to think that maybe Barusa has already got his time scoop plan in action.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, fuck me.
Yeah.
Someone's caught me out. I've not even started yet.
It was supposed to start on Monday. Bollocks. I've got to push this back now. God, that's going to mess up all my plans.
I haven't finished painting my five models.
That'd be great. If somebody can edit some like paint marks on his long robes and his sleeve, that'd be brilliant. Shooting it in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
This is one thing that I really think John got so right as his time as producer, is it gives the illusion, shooting abroad, that there's more money than there actually is. And I'm sure it's subsidised in some way, either by a local TV company or it's actually cheaper just to shoot it there for a lot of different reasons or whatever. But it does give the, Paris, Amsterdam, Seville, it gives the illusion that there's more money than there actually is. And it's just kind of nice that it's not central London again, or another sleepy English village.
Yeah, it just makes it feel a bit bigger, doesn't it?
It does. The only thing I get, Lanzarote is the other one, obviously. But they're very old people, touristy place. It's where the English holiday when they want to go to Europe.
You just wanted them to film in the red light district, didn't you?
Well, I was thinking if they got too lost and had to wander into a coffee shop and they go, well, we're all a bit lost here, you can sit down, have a brownie, and then nothing ever gets solved.
Smoking a pancake.
And I love it.
Oh, someone could have been like,
bumbling around.
Yeah, doctor, you like the herb, I can see you.
It's good to smoke, we roll it up. And they just, an edit of that story, but everybody's got really red eyes would be brilliant. And they're just bumbling around, bumping into people.
Well, Umaga already is.
Shopping.
I think that's it. Umaga just went into the wrong cafe and just came out off his tits.
No wonder he turned green. My God. I like, this is something I need to ask you, if you can help me with this. So, in the crypt, we hear a TARDIS materialise.
Yeah.
And then there's that archway, and then the door opens, and then, and Chickenhead, comes out. And then there's a couple of back and forths where people go in and out. But the one that I was like, I want to see somebody go in, and then the next scene be where Omega is. So he says he's in a different universe, or he's somewhere else. He's contacting the Doctor through the Matrix.
Yeah.
But he's whole. He needs to have a body for transference.
Yeah.
But he's in the TARDIS, in the crypt.
Yeah.
In the chair.
Yeah.
It's like, so is that supposed to be a different universe? Is it white because you're going into a different universe, into the universe of antimatter?
Well, I think this is what the Arc of Infinity is all about.
Right.
The actual Arc of Infinity. That something about it allows antimatter and matter to exist.
So the Arc of Infinity is in the TARDIS.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a bit more of a nebulous concept than that. I don't actually know. And I've always thought to myself, how does he get a TARDIS? And how does he exist in Amsterdam in any sort of form? But I believe that is that is the get around.
Okay.
Is that he has found the Arc of Infinity, which can allow this little, I guess it's like little bubble of time and space where he can manipulate it and exist in that space.
Okay.
I could be completely wrong.
That just threw me off as well.
Yeah, no, every time I always think this because it's that sort of 80s Doctor Who techno babble waffle.
But it's like you go into a TARDIS and the next scene has Rangles.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're there though. You're
that's
in that
it.
space. So that's always just
that's always confusing. And I mean, the stuff with I think it's called the fusion generator that Colin plugs into the
neck brace.
Yeah, the neck brace that gets plugged into the pumps.
Yeah.
I'm always like, well, why? But apparently something to do with it because Amsterdam is below
sea level, so the pressure is the only thing that can get the fusion generator to work. Yeah.
If you stop these pumps, Amsterdam would just float away. Maybe he's just been on the wacky.
He sounds like it. Sounds like it. Is that the Arc of Infinity? What do we think is a kind of summary? Like,
it's all right.
Fine.
I don't get the hatred for it.
No.
I mean, it has its shortcomings.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that bad.
No. And I think if you like 80s Doctor Who, it's sort of an above average story for that period in time. For me, it certainly is, because I'm not a massive fan of that period. It's like, that was quite good. But I just always feel like when I watch a Fifth Doctor story, it's like he feels absent. The character of the Doctor kind of feels absent. I don't know if there's anybody else that kind of gets that with the Fifth Doctor.
No, I know what you mean. I guess he's slightly more passive, perhaps.
I don't need my Doctor to be knocking people out or whatever, but it's just like he feels like as much of a passenger in his stories as his companions.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't take charge in the same way that like John's Doctor does, or even Tom's, or Collins, and that's a Doctor that
thrives on
that's a Doctor that the script editor practically writes him out of his own program.
Exactly,
but something about him. I guess he's just got such a big personality, and he's obviously got such a big coat.
It helps. It amplifies it, doesn't it? And I think it's just his outfit's beige. And it's just
and I guess the Gallifrey looks, like you said, that almost feels a bit beige. It's not grandiose in the way that we've seen Gallifrey before.
No,
it's just all right. Well, we've got the sound effects and we've got the old.
We've
costumes.
got the stasers. We've got all the old outfits. For the guards.
And it's a shame. It's a shame they didn't go. Well, let's look at the Deadly Assassin and see. Okay, we have these nice green doors and we've got the Panopticon. All these sets.
And I think you get the impression that Johnny Byrne, he hasn't been given necessarily the three Doctors to watch. Because I think if he had, you would get more of Omega being a megalomaniac and his obsession with being real. And you get that with the Fairground music box scene, but it's not, that telegraphed. And I think you would have had the Time Lords take it a lot more seriously and all that kind of stuff. But, hey-ho, it's a very passable episode of Doctor Who.
I mean, and it says a lot about the Time Lords, doesn't it? That, we don't know how to sort this problem out, but if we kill the Doctor, then everything's
it's sort
fine.
Of not our problem anymore.
Yeah, so
and they have to kill him because he's half bonded, and the Doctor is sort of like his entry point into our reality.
Yeah, I mean, does Omega choose the Doctor's biodata because as like some sort of a revenge thing? If
I suppose you could do a Cartmel master plan and go, well, because we are both Time Lords of high rank or Time Lord gods, we are the first.
Yeah.
It could only have been Rassilon, who is in a tomb and might get woken up soon. Apparently, I've heard some rumours.
Yeah.
And you. And that's sort of it. And Tecteun.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise you'd just be like, well, surely you just get some like menial Joe Bloggs.
Yeah.
Who's just like the lavatory attendant or
Damon,
or Damon,
anybody you can do a transfer with. And I thought it was funny as well. Like a couple of Gallifrey soldiers either get stasered. I think most of them get up in the end, but like Barusa, when Barusa's shot and dies. There's no regeneration.
Head in, you mean?
Head in. No, but Barusa... No, head in, you're right. The Barusa doesn't get offed. Like when head in dies, it's like there's no regeneration, but then I guess it's lucky that every Time Lord that dies in this story was on their last life. So you don't have to get another actor in to do the regeneration.
Well, they've got the impulse laser, haven't they, in the beginning? That's what Head in uses to kill that guy.
And an impulse laser just does a Time Lord
I assume so. It's really interesting when he comes in and he goes, good evening. Impulse laser?
Gets shot.
Like if you pointed a gun at me, Billy, I wouldn't be like, Beretta?
One for PP. Exactly.
But hey-ho. It's fine.
It's fine,
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. How does the Fifth Doctor know what an ergon is? He's like, it's an ergon.
It's an ergon.
One of Omega's shittier attempts at synthesis.
Maybe he was like, at one point Omega was like, I've been thinking about this design for this thing. It looks like a fucking chicken. That's
every
rubbish.
doctor's.
Yeah, that's rubbish. Oh, well, it's better than the
So,
blobby.
Brother Time Lord, what do you think of this? Well, I think that's pretty appalling.
It looks like a chicken, sir.
What? I'll rustle one up with, I will just rustle one up for you with my powers of will. I can do a door, I'll do a chicken for you.
He's good, the doctor. He helped him out with that. Maybe the doctor was like, I tell you what will look really scary is this chicken. Okay, I'll trust you, Brother Time Lord. I trust that you're not lying to me. That you won't deceive me again. There you go. Well, that was the Arc of Infinity.
Yeah.
It's so okay.
Yeah. It's just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, when you consider that Time Flight was the story that came before
Wow, I know.
anything is better than that.
I've been thinking maybe Time Flight should be coming up on our agenda quite soon because we have been doing the review of Death now for a year. It'll be a year next week as of this episode coming out.
As a podcast.
As a podcast, yeah. Which is crazy. We shot the first one a couple of days ago, a year ago.
Bonkers.
And
how exciting it all was.
I know.
How new and exciting it all
sick of
felt.
it now. But thank you all so much for your support over the last year.
Thank you.
We wouldn't have been doing it and keeping it up and enjoying it as much if you guys weren't enjoying it either. So massive thanks for everybody who listens to it on their commute. That's my favourite thing when I see people say, I've got a long drive or I've got a whatever and I'm listening to the podcast and it's like,
shit, don't listen to us on a long drive.
No, especially not with kids in the car.
No, shit.
And people who obviously watch us on YouTube as well, thank you so much and your support and sharing it around and all that good stuff. We've got some cool stuff hopefully coming up, maybe like a kind of a live-ish review of Death from within the studio.
Yeah.
We'll get some more details on that soon.
Yeah.
More interviews, more reviews, more good stuff. So yeah, thank you very much everybody for your support over the last 12 months.
And good times for review of Death. We've got lots of new Doctor Who to talk about.
Lots of new Doctor Who coming up. Maybe by the next time we see each other we'll have a title. If not, we'll moan about it for another 15 minutes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Look out for a new poll. We'll have a new episode to have a look at. I think I might chuck Curse of the Black Spot in there again because I do fancy watching that.
Do you?
For some reason, I just thought.
Are you sadist?
Well, I think it's because I can do a crap modern Who because it's 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And
they're easier to watch.
Yeah, and we've ragged on Series 6 a lot. And I feel like, we've done Closing Time. That was Series 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was shite.
And that wasn't great. But I feel like the more that we can kind of put our case forward... I'll justify our hatred by watching the worst ones from that series. I think we should do Curse of the Black Spot. What's your favourite Series 6 episode? Is there a good one in there?
Yeah, the first ones are good.
Oh, the
Impossible
Astronaut, Day of the Moon.
That's good.
The Girl Who Waited, is that Series 6?
Now, do you know what? Everyone raves about that story, and I've never got it.
Well, maybe we'll do a Series 6 double bill. We could do...
Oh, crikey.
Well, let's split it up across 2 episodes. I won't put us through 2 Series 6 episodes in one.
We could do. I mean, it's only 2 45-minute episodes to watch.
That's true. Well, let us know what you fancy seeing, everybody.
If you fancy us doing a double whammy of Series 6 shitness.
A turd sandwich, then we'll do it for you. We'll make it so.
Yeah. See you next time.
See you next time.
Goodbye. He's not in this story. I don't know why I did his voice.
You just do it. It's like a tick.
Yeah.
Like when you laugh sometimes, there's a Tom grin that appears in your face. Ah!